Awesome. Hey, Kobe, how are you?
Great.
Hey, and how are you, Chase, down there in the bottom?
Doing well, doing well.
Good, 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 good. I did want to thank everybody at Entrada. So Chase and I had some changes that we wanted to make to some of these slides earlier this week into the presentation and some information that we're going to add today and that we're going to continue to add over the next couple of weeks and some data points that we wanted to change and how some of the graphs look. And everyone has worked so hard at Entrada. So they all jumped in, got all of our requests, put them all in place. Some of them could be called crazy ideas. I say, but they just got it all in place, done in the presentation. So big fat thank you to Team Entrada one more time. So
We want to talk about hot off the press. There's still
literally
slides as we speak. So
literally fixing slides at slide 60 as we start. Exactly. The other person that Chase and I really wanted, or people that we really wanted to thank, were our clients. It's your business, your strategies, your expertise, executions, operations that we are reporting on, and we appreciate your partnership and are in awe of your dedication, not only to your associates, your customers, your clients, but to Entrada and the industry. This has been a great experience for all of us at Entrada to see this information and see how the story unfolds. And we hope that soon we will all be together and we can sit around and talk about it and joke about all the different crazy things that happened in business and all the things that we learned. But we know that this will be a case study for the ages, right, Chase?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what is different? So what we're going to do a little bit differently today is we're going to start with the top of the funnel and go through things like occupancy renewals month to month, state of the industry, and move into things like rents, fees, payments. So we saw the slide that says with the information, and we are looking at the disclaimer, we're looking at information through the 8th of July today. So let's get going.
We'll have month end and through July.
Oh yes, month end and through July. Very much so. So do you want to talk about occupancy, Chase?
Sure. So for student, nothing too surprising here, right? We're coming to an end of a semester. You look at the line of the graph, it's about 1%, just under 1% different from where they should be, kind of tracking with 2019. You'll notice on a lot of these graphs, we did change the format a little bit. So we're showing year over year stacked so that you can kind of see the comparison easier to see the performance and the trends comparative to year over year. So hopefully this is helpful. We thought it was a little bit easier than trying to track the line across and see that change. For conventional, positive news.
Crazy.
I mean, this is amazing.
Crazy.
Now, granted, it's nothing to write home about in the how much it's up, but it is up, right? We saw that dip. You kind of see the difference between 2019 and 2020. We saw where it came down in May and it grew through June. There's going to be some interesting points here we're still trying to make sense of with month-to-month renewals and occupancy, but this is good news, right? I mean, we'll all take it. Right now, more occupancy is better, right?
And we have several data points in this presentation that show that we're at that point where things are meeting at 2019. So that is interesting.
We're hitting kind of a crossing point right now for a lot of these data points. So renewals, this is for student, for pre-lease. So what we're seeing is the nation is about 70% pre-leased for student. There's a lot of different universities and schools that are announcing that they are coming back. Some of them, they're all announcing different plans, right? Some are a hybrid, some are bringing different junior versus seniors on campus, what classes are, but most of the universities have started to firm up their plans, or at least their tentative plans. So we saw some of that momentum. It increased by about 5 percentage points through that pre-leasing. So it's been strong. It continues to be strong. We're hearing from a lot of customers of properties that are 100% pre-leased already. So there is good momentum there, and I think weathering pretty well considering the amount of unknown that's still out there specifically for students. This is not the best story. So for conventional, we're still seeing this decline of renewals, right? Down 14% year over year by the end of June, right? We were at 58% renewals in June of last year. We're at 44%. Not terribly surprising seeing the rising of month to month, which we'll show you, where they're not renewing, they may be going month to month. I think we're starting to see some of those individuals reconsider where they're living.
Yeah.
Can they afford the unit that they're in? Do they want to move home? Some combining of households. Those who have lost jobs saying, I don't want to renew until I know what where I stand. And I think that's what's starting to hit this. Now, this is the juxtaposition, right? We go back to this, this graph, and occupancy's up. So we still have good occupancy, but we are seeing those renewals have come down. There is a bright spot in this, and it's when we get to leasing and leads that the renewals are down, but there is a lot of leasing going on. So we got to take it all in context, right? Month to month, still going up. Thoughts here, Virginia?
This is the story for me for this whole series is month to month and how it has grown and how it's become something that as an industry and operators would just take a, oh, you're going to factor, you're going to have a couple of months, but now that they're accumulating and we're looking at such an increase. And I was talking to a friend of mine before this call, and we were talking about how, if there was a premium attached to these month-to-month leases, this would be a real positive because it's an opportunity to make up some lost income. But majority of them, it's a good business practice to shelter in place and not charge the premium. I'm not faulting that decision at all. I'm just saying, I don't know if we all foresee this going as long as it has and going into so many months and so many people continuing to shelter in place and make those decisions on their future.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting seeing this renewal drop and then seeing this month-to-month increase, right? It's something that definitely needs to be acknowledged and planned for because we're holding, right? We look at this occupancy and we're holding. This number's holding, which is really good. But we can't ignore the other two factors, which mean that they're going to impact us if we don't do something. So I think
yeah, and those can come up available anytime. It's just exposure that's out there waiting to happen.
Yep, definitely. So rent payments. So we're going to talk about June, how June ended, how July's beginning. I will tell you, we've got some positive information here. So how June ended, 92% on student. Look at that. About the same as May, not very different from June of last year. Conventional, 94.4% up from May. Not even a percentage point down from last year. So really good, right? This is all good news. When you look at percent of uncollected rent, students holding about that 5%, they actually collected a little more in June than they did in May. Up a little bit year over year, not dramatic. Conventional, right in the middle, right? Year over year, month over month, they're right in the middle, holding pretty well. We'll look at July. Remember, August is the month I'm really watching because we don't know what's going to happen with the stimulus and unemployment benefits that are going through this month. And so we're seeing those payments, we're seeing that, but we do know that ends this month. And I think it's an opportunity to be proactively reaching out, asking what their situation is, how can you help? We'll look at the repayment plans. We saw them spike at the beginning. They started to tail off. Maybe this is an opportunity to revisit those. We definitely see the news trying to upplay the evictions expiring this month as well, and that millions are at risk. We've really seen multifamily working with these individuals, and I think it's showing the performance. Here it is throughout the states for student, pretty consistent throughout the US for student on rent paid in June. There's really nothing in here terribly surprising, and all within a couple of percentage points. So really good performance there. Uncollected rent, you can see where the markets hit by COVID are the markets most impacted by uncollected rent. Not surprising. You're seeing those unemployment rates there as well. So you've got California, Nevada, Texas, Florida, New York, the states that we've been talking about. Not surprising, but they definitely have a bigger variance where we were seeing the actual payment being more consistent for student. Similar for conventional, right? You look across the US, 99% of the US is above 90% in rent collected, which I think is fantastic. And holding really well month over month, year over year. You even look at Texas, New York, even those states are doing pretty well. Now you look at the uncollected. Here's the big thing, just as a reminder for you guys. percent of units that paid rent in June. This is that they made a rent payment, not how much they paid. This is that they made a payment. This is showing how much revenue was not collected. So it's really showing that delinquency and deficit here. Again, similar to student, you're seeing those markets heavier impacted by COVID. Interesting, you're starting to see Washington and Oregon recover here on uncollected rent being paid a little bit. But you are seeing some of these. Louisiana starting to be pretty impacted. Nevada really impacted here as well. So now let's look at July. We started July off really well. What I will tell you, we talked about this in the NMHC webinar. As we were pulling this data, one thing to remember is holiday weeks impact rent payments.
Everything, yeah.
And the day that the 4th falls, when are the holidays for work and things like that. Especially right now where we know that late fees are not really an issue. There's no incentive to pay your rent on time. We saw a surge of payments right at the end of this, and we're still seeing it today. So I highly anticipate these numbers are going to continue to rise. On the 6th, the night of the 6th, we jumped like 6 percentage points in one night. So it really pushes it out. And I would say these numbers are good considering that holiday weekend. Yes. We will continue to see these grow. You see student right in the middle between June and July of last year, kind of right in the middle. Same thing on conventional. Conventional really is right on performance, year over year and month over month, right where they should be. There's nothing surprising there. Even from a delinquency, look at this. June of this year, the delinquency was higher. We're lower on delinquency already for July. So really good start, healthy start to the month for rent payments that we're seeing there. Same thing on the rent that was paid here. We'll pull these up. I'm going to move through them quickly because of the number of slides. Really nothing terribly surprising. Remember, these percentages of uncollected rent are high because we still only have 1 week. These numbers will update as we get through the month, and we get to end of month, you'll see they'll reduce significantly. Conventional, same thing. I would say there's a little bit more smooth curve with conventional across the nation than student, but nothing terribly surprising or out of the norm month over month and year over year. So payment types kind of continues to surprise me. Yeah. Credit and debit continues to increase another 6 percentage points since last month. This is huge, right? People want to pay digitally. Scan checks down 6%. So all those people who were using checks, 1 for 1 pretty much moved to credit card this month for student. Same thing in conventional. Look at this, a 10% increase in credit and debit, 4% in e-check, 10% down in scan checks. We're really continuing to see this adoption. You guys are getting to the point of almost all digital payments, right? If this trend continues, we'll continue to see that happening. We also will tell you, we attribute this credit and debit increase. We are seeing more and more customers absorbing the convenience fee for credit and debit cards. They're saying, I will take the $25 charge to collect your rent. Right. And so they're making every possible way to pay without any barriers, and it's really paying off. I mean, we continue to see it used more and better rent collection.
The interesting thing with the credit cards, Chase, is like, do they need to pay it with their credit card or they get to pay it with their credit card? Like, we're not sure if these are folks that are, don't have any other income or are holding their cash and are paying with their credit card so they can have some cash and the anticipation of what may happen in the fall. Or is this, hey, I've always wanted to pay my rent with a credit card and I didn't. Now that I can and the fees being absorbed, I'm going to do it. So that's the balance. But I
think there's an aspect of cash management on their end, right?
Agreed.
I can pay this card, make payments.
Savings is up, spending's down, savings up, and this proves that point.
Yeah. I will tell you what we are seeing is debit is also being used more and more, not just credit cards.
We
have them in the same channel because of how we process. However, we are seeing more and more debit and a huge adoption of debit for them. So fees and repayment agreements. Let's talk about late fees. So late fees, what we are seeing here is you can see the late fees being posted. they're just coming way down, right? People are kind of giving up for that right now because they're focused on rent collection. There's been some of the moratoriums on this depending on local jurisdiction, but nothing too surprising. You know, we started to see them increase a little bit this month. I don't think this is going to skyrocket. Same thing with late fees waived. We're continuing to see this decline. This doesn't mean that you're forgiving them. It means you're just not posting them in the first place.
Right.
Right? And so we're seeing that kind of move from we don't have to waive them anymore because most people just aren't posting them. So we're continuing to see that move in there. So percent change in late fees here across the nation, you're starting to see a little bit more of that posting, right? You can see the states, this is one for one, the states that are lifting some of that regulation, you're starting to see that they're posting those late fees again, and it's coming in. Late fees posted for conventional, that was student. Same thing with conventional. I would say even more dramatic. We actually saw conventional posted even less late fees than they ever have. Therefore, not surprising, what's being waived is less. They're posting less, so they're having to waive less because there's nothing to waive. I do think this trend will continue for a little bit. Virginia, your thoughts there?
No, I agree. I think as long as we're not really quite sure what the stimulus is going to do, the federal money, and everybody's kind of, you know, still sort of hunker down, sheltering in place, I think we're going to continue to see this.
Yep, I completely agree. Here's the map for conventional. You can kind of see the differences in the different states. This really starts to weigh on local jurisdiction on what you can and can't do in which direction that they're going. Repayment agreements. We continue to see this go down. It was interesting, for those of you that weren't on the NMHC call, Margette from Lincoln was there, and we saw exactly what she brought up. Back in March, going into April, everyone started offering repayment agreements, and we saw this huge spike. What we saw is most of them requested it, but they may not have even used it, and if they did, they've already paid it back off. So we continue to see this decline. I'm interested to see, again, this is one of those points that we're going to be watching June, July, and August, how it falls out with unemployment kind of benefits decreasing, the stimulus check, the unknown of is there going to be another? This might start to spike again, right? I would be prepared to be able to offer those to support the residents through it. We may see this come back up. I think there's a little bit of a known. Interestingly, student and conventional, pretty much, I mean, you look at the graphs, very similar. The decrease for conventional was not as stark. One thing to recognize, 1,200 of these repayment plans across 1.5 million units, this is nothing, right? This is still minimal. This is not being used. It is a rounding error on the side of non-existent, in my opinion.
But a good thing to have in your arsenal, right? In case you need it. So yeah, let's talk about some of the leasing information that we have. So one of the things that we're going to show you that we've been talking about over the last several months is that how the fourth week of the month has outperformed the first three. And we're going to show that to you today. And we're super excited about that. We've geeked out about that all morning. Fresh in, just in. Slides are there. I just got the chat. They're all in there and updated. So let's start looking at the leads and looking at student and the new leads per unit. You know, student is up. I mean, 72.73% month to month.
That is
235% year over year. Now, this is all because of the delay and the unknown. It has them all researching. They're all, you know, trying to figure out. But once those decisions are made, it is going to be survival of the fittest to get to them, right? So the map kind of shows the same thing. We love all this green, bigger impact on these leads. All this positive is out there.
I mean, if you think about in March when we started doing this,
red.
Everybody needs to remember every map was solid red, and we're seeing green, 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 which is great.
Yes, this looks great. I mean, we love red, but we love the green here, right? This is a place where we'll gladly trade, the green for the red. Then you're looking at the new leads breakdown by week. This is the information that we were talking about. Take a look over here on the side. I'm going to close the window, but you can see the new leads when we had from week 1 to week 2. And this is not business week. This is just 1st through the 7th, 8th through the 14th, just on a calendar. And you can see how week 4 every time has outperformed, not a cumulative number, but the percentage of leads for that month. That
each one of these data points represents the activity for that 1 week. So you see April, June, March, and May are the different lines, and then the data point for the leads per unit for that week.
Thank you for pointing that out, because this is a new slide for us. But look, the other thing that I love that this tells is it shows you that about May is where we started making a little bit of a recovery, and now look at June. But if you put those things combined and you take a look at those leads that have been coming into the funnel in May, June, and then you factor the ones that have come in the 4th week, that is where the story is with all these leads. Don't you agree, Chase?
100%. I mean, it's
100%.
This is, I think, important because it's interesting to look at that 4th week is critical, right?
Oh,
if
yeah.
I'm looking at staffing plans, I'm looking at when to push and when to maybe have more people available. Week 4 is making the months.
Making the month, and you look at, consider your, especially your statement about it being the end of June, 1st of July, having a holiday. This will be really interesting to check when we start looking into, you know, the July information. But that jump on week 3 to week 4 in June is telling. So I think it's going to continue to go this way in this pattern. And I think it's just part of this sort of holding back, what am I going to do? What are my plans going to be sort of situation everybody's
Well,
in.
and I think a lot of people are watching the markets. They're watching coming in for the month. What does the jobs report say? Am I comfortable? Okay, we're doing better or we're not doing better. And so I think they're waiting, right?
I think so too. I think so too. I think they're just kind of, and as we've been talking about, there are a lot of them are in research mode, and they're going to just hold on to that information and take a look at it as it goes. But then looking at new leads per unit for conventional, I mean,
wow,
40.68% month over month, 72.92% year over year. We sheltered in place through about, you know, the middle of April. We got into May, we waited, maybe the walls are closing in on a couple people. There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal that said, if I could work from home, why do I live where I live? Not meaning property, but meaning city. Like, so we're starting to see folks go, you know what? Why do I live in an expensive city? If I can work from anywhere with my job, why don't I live somewhere that's a little bit more cost effective?
This blows my mind. I mean, this is,
I know.
This
crazy,
is
right?
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy. That top end of that funnel, like we talk about every 2 weeks, the top end of that funnel is getting heavier and heavier. Folks are wanting to make a move, and this is the best time to, you know, really pay attention to those leads. So
Dennis Smiley just chatted and brought up a very good point. This parallels the lower renewals and higher month to months. There are more people in play and in motion right now.
Yep.
And I think, you know, we've got to maximize this, right?
Yeah, and we've been talking about that throughout this series about we anticipate a migration of folks, whether it is across the street because they're kind of tired of where they're living and they've been in that apartment and they know that it's not working for themselves or them or their families and they want to make a change, or it's the people like, you know, I'm going to really make a big change and go across the country and do something different.
Look, 100% green, Virginia.
100% green. It's my first note that I have. That is the most beautiful slide. The entire country is in a positive state when it comes to leads. So this is fantastic news. Fantastic news. So keeping that funnel going, and you'll be able to look at the new leads breakdown by week. Again, back to our week 4 scenario. This is where it's the highest. From week 1, 2, 3, that last week of the month, it's telling the story. Like Chase said, this is when you need to have your best folks on your leads. You need to have, you know, additional training in place. Make sure all your offers are consistent through all your advertising. You know, this is when you're able to make some different changes into your business and get some leases into that funnel.
And I think it's important. This doesn't even really, I mean, you look at June and we were talking about this. We could probably attribute the July 4th to some of the peak. But when we compare this with the 4 months, it's every month. And there's not a holiday, right? I mean, every month is still skyrocketing that last week.
Yeah, we kind of eliminated all the sort of, you know, consistent items that may have made these things happen. You know, we had a holiday in May, we had a holiday with Easter, but we're seeing the same behavior every month. So we anticipate that we'll see it, and we think there's a strategy to it.
Yeah.
So looking at applications, going back down the funnel, new applications per unit per student, up again 39.62% month over month, year over year, about 57.45%. Again, awesome. What you see here, it's great. A little bit of delay from where we, usually this hits in April because they know what's going to go on. They know what schools are going to be open, when school starts. But now with the delay, we're just seeing everything start a little bit later. And that's a good thing, right? So hopefully in the next coming weeks, we'll be able to see it go from an increase May to June, and we'll get up there in July. Less red is the story on this map as well. And then the new applications per unit for conventional. What I think is interesting about this is that, we're about where we thought we would be in any given season of leasing. I would have anticipated that applications would probably lay a little bit more flat than they did from last month. But again, that top of the funnel's been so heavy. And one of the places that we saw stalls were in people completing the application. Now they're starting to get it complete. Your teams are holding people's hands. They're getting those leads to commit, moving them down the funnel, up 20% month over month, 33.33% year over year. I'll take it. And if all things considered, every day, right? All things considered, this trend, looking at the data, it should continue to grow. And when we do this call in another 2 weeks, we should have another step up of an improvement. So keep them on those leads. The percentage of change in new applications started per unit for conventional. Again, we're getting better and better looking maps. Things are getting more positive. We want to continue to see that positive growth and more green in the maps. So going down the funnel, then the next thing they get to is resident screenings. And what's interesting about this, the screenings per unit for student, this is so funny to me because it's a parallel graph to what usually goes on in student. They usually apply around April. Now nobody was looking in April. They're just seeing a twist. Wouldn't this be awesome if this whole pattern followed this pattern in reverse, so we can see that month over month is up, year over year is up, but basically it's because this is not where they usually are in the funnel. Correct, Chase?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they're in a little bit of a different pattern now, but that's good. We'll take it. This map, Maine bringing me down. That's okay.
Okay, I'll take the rest of the map. Look at that. And
beautiful.
Double digits, right? Like
it's beautiful. Yeah.
Only Montana is at 3% and the rest are double digits. And then is that Nebraska?
California announced that half of the schools weren't going back. Remember?
Yep.
So and they're up. So this is great, right? So anyway,
look at this.
This is my favorite one ever. So with the screenings per unit for conventional up 13.43% month over month, 15.15% year over year. Look at where we sheltered in place. March, we were at home. April, we're at home. May, okay, something's got to give. I can't wait forever. Now they're in that pocket of, we got to move through the funnel, get to the point where we can get screened, and then get to the point where we have a lease executed and we're moving in. It's great. And don't you love, Chase, geeking out for just a second, how these slides with the month, with you be able to see 2020 in the aqua and the gray is 2019. This tells a really, really good story. Our team did a great job getting this.
Well, who would have thought we would be above last year?
Yeah. And no, in a million years.
Right?
We had a great year last year.
We all would have been happy to have the performance of last year this year.
Yes. Great year last year. So the idea that we're moving ahead of that right now, and we should continue to move a little bit ahead of that. So, and then here's our map. Again, more green is good. A couple of places that are a little bit slower, but that percentage change in screenings per unit is looking really strong, really strong. Now, looking at leasings. This is my favorite thing of the leases. So let's take a look at student and look at the leases generated per unit on the left and the leases approved per unit on the right. Again, up, but mostly because they were so far down and the patterns changed a lot. 51.35%.
Right? It is literally everything was delayed. So
everything's delayed. It's just a reverse of what usually happens, and it's just all based on time. Now, as the time gets tighter and the schools are having to make some different decisions and and land on them and actually communicate them, this is going to go. I can't even imagine what it's going to look like in the next 2 weeks, to 30 days. It's going to be a big, huge change. So we'll continue to watch that, but we'll take it up. And I know our student providers that are working so hard with the universities, they are throwing out all the stops. I know they're thrilled to see that this is getting better. And back again to our favorite color green with the map, the percentage change in leases generated per unit is looking fantastic. And then per unit with the approved. So very good. It's getting better and better. But let's look at conventional. The leases generated per unit, again on the left, and approved per unit on the right, up 25% month over month, year over year up slightly, 7.14, I'll take it. But what I think is really cool here is that when you look at the leases approved per unit, up month over month, which were great, but no change. Chase, we are where we were last year. And that, I think, seems
Huge,
almost
huge.
impossible.
Well, and I think also, remember, look at the top of the funnel.
Yeah,
This number, leases approved per unit, should go up.
it
We
should.
should outperform last year if we work these leads down the funnel,
Yep,
right? And
yep.
we're just starting to see it. It just tipped that on the leases generated per unit where we just outperformed last year. And I think it's going to keep moving down that funnel. And this is incredible.
I do too, and I've talked to a lot of our ILS partners, and I know you're going to show a slide about all the calls coming into the leasing center. All the stats say that the leads are out there, that they're looking, that they're in that research space, and the teams have got to just stay on those leads, and we'll be able to have, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the presentation as one of our top fives of how to better manage, help your teams manage those leads. So. And the percentage change in leases generated per unit, again, all positive, couple of negatives there, but all things considered, it looks really good.
Look at even Florida.
I know, and like Texas.
California was negative double digits, and now they're only negative. I mean, this is we're seeing good change here.
Yeah, and Nevada, which has been so down and out, some things have reopened. They're taking a lot of precautions. I have a lot of friends that live and work there. And I mean, the idea that they've gotten the positive, that's pretty impressive. And then the percentage of change in leases approved per unit. Again, a couple of them that are down. California's looks like they're having a little bit of a struggle with qualified, but they'll get there. So this is your favorite funnel, Chase.
Look at this. There has to be a sigh of relief a little bit.
Yeah.
Where we are economically and with everything going on in the world today, look at these numbers for June.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when you look at conventional, 166 new leads on a 200 unit community, where last year we had 118. I mean, these numbers are
the last year we had 96.
Oh yeah, 96.
Last month we had 190. I mean, even better, even prettier. Yeah.
And you look at 382 leads. I mean, this is incredible, right? I mean, this really puts it into perspective. And you get down to your point, we look through the funnel, we are outperforming last year conventionally, all the way to lease approved, and then we're equal. So we know if we can keep coming down, we will outperform. And coming back to our occupancy numbers, our renewal rates, and our month to months, it's critical we work these leads down.
Got to work the leads, and critical that you make sure that your teams have the ability, the time, the tools, the resources to work the leads. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. Concessions, you ready for that?
Look at this. This to me is a perfect example of it's mirroring lead and demand.
Yep.
Right? Our concession skyrocketed in May. We freaked out. We didn't know what was going to happen. There weren't as many leads. Leads seemed to not be growing through until about mid-month in May, where we started to recover. We saw a surge in leads. We saw this surge in the demand. And so what has it done? It's driven down concessions, right? I mean, down past last year, I think we all would have taken what we had last year.
Agreed.
And we are below it in June now.
Agreed.
On conventional, right? It's coming back down. We're still higher than last year, but we're coming back down with that demand that's being exemplified. I really think we will see July continue to come down. If these leads hold and they keep working through the funnel, I do think we will continue to see that decrease normalize there.
Well, you know what I think what happened here, Chase, is I think a lot of folks took that when we saw a little bit, or not even just a little bit, a hit in getting leads, more leads in the funnel in May. They're like, okay, listen, while I have them, I got to get an offer. I got to have my first offer has got to be my best offer. They did not, beat around the bush with what they could offer as a concession. They advertised it well. They put it on their websites. They made sure it was on their ILSs. They communicated it by email with their follow-ups, and that paid off. And now they're able to back off the concession a little bit. And they're also just, the clients that I'm talking to are doing very smart things, only offering those concessions on specific unit types, the ones that are hard to lease, and not putting it throughout the entire community. Why give it away if you don't have to? So that, hopefully those strategies will pay off and we'll see that number drop.
Yep. Okay, call volume. This is crazy.
A lot.
Look at this. We expect to go up in calls. Look at that increase in June. This is dramatic, right? And I think this is part of leads. And let me tell you, there are a lot of leads calling. Our phones are ringing. You've got to pick up the phone. They are calling, they are interested. Make sure your phones are answered and you aren't dropping these, right? This is the most growth we have seen on phone calls in history. I mean, this is just dramatic.
Yeah, we've broken a lot of records when it comes to phone calls, residents and prospects.
I mean, and look at it. This really pairs directly to COVID. You look at March or you look at February, where we were right on par.
Right where we're supposed to be.
Right? Yep. March started to increase, and every month the gains have just exponentially increased. From the gain in March to April, May, and now June, it's not slowing down.
Yeah, and majority of those calls in March were residents. Remember, we were having a lot of people call going, what's going on? And now it's switching, and we're seeing more of them are being prospects.
You can see your states. Look at some of these states. I mean, New Mexico, Louisiana, your state's being hit a little bit harder by COVID. California, Florida, we're seeing more calls on student properties. Conventional, actually pretty similar, right? Those states that are being hit are the ones where you're getting more phone calls. But look at this, to your point, Virginia, lead calls keep going up. They're back in growth. You look from March until now, and they have continued to grow as a percentage of the phone calls.
Yep, and those resident calls are going down. Everybody's communicating, making sure they have the information that they need. That's awesome.
Yeah, same thing here. When you look at our phone calls, we kind of had this blip, and we're back to where we would expect to be from June of last year. But our volume is significantly
significant. Yeah.
Significant. All right, we moved through that pretty quick.
Oh my gosh, considering there was 147 slides.
It
means there are a lot of slides today, but
hopefully we're not going too fast for you guys. We want to make sure we respect your time and we get through it. As always, these slides will be available. We will have the white papers. We'll get them posted on our COVID response page on our website. But like always, we want to end with the top 5 best practices and some more exciting news as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And what the good news is we've gotten a lot of chats, and I've gotten some personal chats on my phone throughout this presentation. Y'all are loving the new slides and the year over year stacked on top of each other. So that's fantastic. We'll continue with that. So our top 5 best practices for this week's call is that we want to make sure we are focusing on the big 4: occupancy, which means leads, month-to-months, renewals, all of that, everything that has to do with driving that occupancy number, rent collection, concessions, and delinquency. These are the things that we all go together, and it's what's telling your story. And if you're looking at one and not looking at the other, or if you have a department looking one closely and not looking at the other, I'm telling you, this is what we're looking at and what we're going to continue to track. And we think that this is the best, the best pattern to take in making sure that we're bringing in information, concessions, rent collection, because all of that stuff affects that top end of the funnel and that occupancy number. The other thing, student housing. There's been a lot of information this week in the news about what's going to happen with international students. Are they going to be required, if it's virtual, to go back to where they came, and they're not going to be able to stay in the United States? And there's going to be a lack of housing if the student housing on campus doesn't allow them to do double occupancy, and they have to have single occupancy. That means that there's one other person that needs a place to live. Then there's a lot of trust being gained on the student housing front with saying, you know what? It's better than a dorm because you can keep it clean. You have control over who's in and out. It's your house. That's going to be a better solution for a lot of folks than being on the site. So that's a good strategy. Again, I say it every time, the student providers are way ahead of what's going on. So those are some things to look for. Site teams, here's my takeaway, and it continues to be my takeaway for COVID. I know how important the site teams. I know everybody on this call and everybody that we work with, and then try to know how critical those site teams are. They're 100% essential workers, but more than ever, is the weight of the job catching up with them, of people that I've talked to that are Entrata clients that aren't, and some that aren't Entrata clients that are just really, good friends of mine in the industry, associates of mine. They're seeing the pressure on the site level. We closed, we figured out how to do business being closed and virtually, and now we've reopened partially, and now some of the towns, I live in Atlanta, we're back to, a lot of the things are completely shut down again. We've seen restaurants open, close, 2 or 3 times with cases being positive. Is the weight of that job catching up with them? We had heard from some folks that had said they had as many as 65, 70% of their leads going untouched for a couple of days. That the sites have got so much on their plate. I get it. You got to make sure things are clean. You got to make sure nobody's sitting, next door to each other. You got to have somebody go walk the model. There's a lot of things that they have to do.
Don't drop the lead.
Nothing's more important than that lead. Everybody on the call, Chase, me, we all get paid when somebody moves in. That's the only thing that drives income in our industry is somebody living there, right? And paying rent. So take a look at what they have on their plate, ask them the hard questions, see where you can fix that. Evaluating your leasing funnel and identifying the friction. This is a thing that our friend Dennis Smiley and I talked about this morning. It's like, we keep talking about trying to find those efficiencies and effectively manage leads. Are you using the automations and the contact points in Entrata to do a lot of these steps for you? I had a call this morning with a client. They're like, no, we like to send it ourselves. I'm like, well, sending it yourselves is costing you because you have your teams doing all these other things and they're not able to make that first contact. Do it, set it up. It is better. It is actually better than a lot of the, personalized handwritten things that you're doing because it can attach to that step. It's not going to be delayed. It can say what it is that you need to say based on the unit that they're looking at. It can be pre-set up and automated and made so much easier for your team. So take a look at that. Contact your Entrata contact and get some assistance if you need to.
With identifying the friction, look at the online application. And are you asking 248 questions in your online application?
Edit it. 100%.
Right? Reduce what do you need to get the lease? I will tell you and leave a little bit of a teaser out there. We're working on something we really want to get multifamily to adopt and embrace quicker, shorter applications.
Yep.
Right? Yep. And we can do it, and it doesn't mean more risk. There's a way and an ability to do that, but we've got to embrace it because these leads want to move. And when they want to make a decision, we don't want to wait. We want let them make the decision. Right.
Well, and along that lines, last week, I had a call with our teams about making the guest card shorter too, because that leads right into the application. I mean, what do you need to know someone's address? You need to know where they're living, where their phone number, how to get in touch with them. Because again, they want to get to the get quicker. So I couldn't agree with you more. But I think we're one of the last industries that has them fill out something like they're, taking out a loan at the bank. I mean, have them fill out so much information. So that's a great tease. And then our 5th one is a repeat from last time, is to plan around the unknown. Why? Because it's still unknown. Exactly. It's coming at the end of the month. There's a lot of theories about what's going to happen with that additional federal stimulus of $600. I look at this, Chase and I send each other articles around the clock about what's going on. But, to go ahead and take a look at those unknown things, you skipped me. I think I lost number 5 point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna forgive you 100%. But anyway, the unemployed stimulus, eviction services are back in place. There's an article on the front of the Washington Post this week that they're anticipating 20,000. I think Dennis will tell me if I got that wrong. He and I talked about it this morning, but I have the article if you want it. Email me at vlove@entrata.com and I'll be more than happy to share it with anybody that emails me. Looking at the breakouts of phase 2 of COVID, we're experiencing that in Atlanta right now, Florida, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, number 6 in the world in cases as a percentage of population. Charleston, South Carolina. And then again, reputation management. Right now, you used to be your first source of a lead was going to be an ILS or your website. Really, right now, your first visit is your reputation management. Folks are looking at it very closely. This is very important to people that are considering to live at your property, is how are they handling a pandemic? This tells a great story. And you can put all the nice fluffy stuff out there you want to on social media and on your website, but when they start digging in and they see people say, nobody, we can't do this, we can't do that, nobody tells us this, they're not communicating to us, it's going to wear you down. So make sure you're paying close attention to that. So Dennis says if they can see you, you can't see them at that step, and that is the truth. They can see everything that we're doing, and we can't see anything that they're doing. So with that, Chase, I think you have a big announcement.
Well, one of the exciting things is we're really trying to focus on, just as much as we're presenting this data to you guys to help you make decisions, we're using this data to say, okay, what can we do to help?
What do we need to do?
There are a lot of things that we're working on. One of the ones we just hit on, we're working on trying to reduce the application friction, make it simple, streamlined, 4 or 5 questions, make a decision, collect data later, right? We're working on a process for that. It will be forthcoming. I'm really excited about it. I'm working with NAA. We're really trying to get this embraced so that we can have a seamless, quick application cycle. We've been looking at fraud. We've been looking at all of these different things, really trying to see what we can do. Another big piece that's going to be coming out here soon is a full marketing engine spend management. So you're able to see what your return is on all of your spend, where to put the spend, how much to put in there, an amazing dashboard and data to help you drive that. And that will be coming. But talking about what's coming, we're really excited. We released the self-guided tours. This is included for individuals utilizing our prospect portal. This is not a new product. It's not something we're selling and trying to go out there and get you to pay for. For all of you that are utilizing the websites, we want to make it seamless. The websites before, they were scheduling tours with, right? We had the calendar functionality, the dashboard that's been completely revamped to include self-guided tours where they can do it on their own. They can schedule it. They can select the unit. They get the code to go in the door. They perform it. Alexa or Google will be in the unit. You actually control that from Entrata so that it will tell you and give you the tour when they get in there, and you manage all of this inside of Entrata. If they cancel tours, reschedule tours, reporting on the tours, all of that. Maybe you aren't doing full self-guided, but you're doing assisted where they check in at the office. That's included, right? Or you're still doing your normal tours. You can turn these on, provide them the flexibility, all in everything you've already been doing. And as part of Prospect Portal, it's our commitment to continue to provide solutions in this time that will help you guys. We want to make sure we're meeting your needs. We're coming out with it. We've been working really hard on this one to get it out. We could have got it out sooner and been what some of the self-guided tours are out there, where it's really just scheduling. We wanted to make sure we had an end-to-end solution from the website, schedule it, pick a time, pick a unit, the back end for managing those tours, managing the units, providing the voice guided assistance in the tours, the codes, the IoT, all of that is part of this. It's huge, huge. Go to the website, entrata.com, /self-tour. You can see a video, you can see it in action. There's a lot of it that was in the release notes. Reach out to your CSMs. Hopefully this helps. That's our goal. We want to make sure we're giving you guys products that will help you and enhance the experience for your residents and ultimately help your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we have a webinar coming up next week on Wednesday, the 15th at noon Mountain Standard Time. We'll have Trevor Riley, who's the owner of this product with Entrata, and myself. We'll go through it step by step. And like Chase said, it really is the only solution that I have seen out there that answers those different steps that you may be taking. I think a lot of people are doing self-guided tours, but it's more like just giving somebody a key. We wanted to make sure it was end to end, and this does meet those, that.
I mean, I even left out ID verification, verifying before they come.
Yeah. They can verify the ID, everything. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because when you started talking about the smart home device, mine started talking. So that was.
Alexa heard me.
She did. She'll be hearing you again. Anyway, so that'll be good. That'll be our next webinar next week. We'll send out some information. You can register at entrata.com/COVID-19 on our COVID relief page. I'm telling you, if there's something that y'all need that we have not provided, if there's a data point, I did get a chat during the presentation about something with increasing concessions and partial rent payments. Are you able to isolate how rent paid is a percentage of potential gross income as trending since February? We had 2 people with that question that said, email me, vlove@entrata.com, since we're running a little bit late. We want to make sure that we answer that with a fair amount of intelligence and not guess, because it has to do with percentage of income. And we will be back. Gosh, Chase, we get to do this again in 2 weeks. Super excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, biggest thing, Virginia said it at the beginning. I can't reiterate it enough. Thank you for being our partners. We enjoy working with all of you guys. We know that the struggles that are in the industry right now, we're here to help. We want to be a good partner. Please reach out. We hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. We've been watching the surge and the new cases, you know, and we want the best for everyone and hope you're safe and healthy. It's been great to be here again today. Good to see you, Virginia. Glad to see you.
Good seeing you. I can't wait to come to Utah whenever we can. It's going to be awesome.
One day.
Yeah, one day.
Well,
Exactly.
thanks, guys. We appreciate you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Have a great
Thanks,
week.
Chase.